Dillon explains why moving to the Truck Series is the best move for his career and teases a potential part-time Cup schedule, while Drew Blickensderfer, Noah Gregson's new crew chief, admits that Stewart-Haas Racing's cars are not where they need to be. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. If I don't see you again between now and Monday, I hope you all have a happy New Year. Stay safe out there tomorrow night, New Year's Eve. Don't get thrown out of an Applebee's. New Year's always gets me excited because that means the NASCAR season is right around the corner. Gosh, shortest off season in pro sports, I swear. Today I wanted to catch up on and react to some interesting quotes from Drew Blickensderfer, who will be Noah Gregson's crew chief at Stewart-Haas this year, as well as some quotes from Dillon, who stole the headlines yesterday, moving back to the Truck Series to drive for Rackley War. But before we get to that, a few of y'all tagged me in this yesterday, but Kyle Busch was involved in a crash at the Tulsa Shootout, went upside down. Those kind of flips are fairly common in this style of racing. The only reason this is remotely newsworthy, at least to a NASCAR audience, is because we're talking about a two-time NASCAR Cup Series champion a month or so before the season begins. This is a tough topic for me because I often find myself in the middle, sitting high atop the fence. Because let's use Christopher Bell, for example. Joe Gibbs will not allow Christopher Bell to go race dirt. On one hand, I believe that's wrong. Dirt racing is in Christopher Bell's DNA. Racing dirt, I think, makes Bell a better all-around driver. But at the same time, I understand that Joe Gibbs pays Bell a lot of money to drive for him on Sundays. Sponsors, millions of dollars are attached to Christopher Bell's availability. If something were to happen over here, like we saw happen to Alex Bowman, albeit in a completely different style of dirt car and track, but we saw Bowman last year miss a few races, seemed to hinder his performance the entire season. If something like that were to happen to, again, Christopher Bell, for example, that would severely damage Joe Gibbs' business. So I understand both sides. I think a balance can be struck. I think Kyle Busch racing the Tulsa Shootout in the middle of the offseason is more than fine. I'm glad he's able to go do that because that's great for race fans to see these Sunday superstars step outside their comfort zone, or in some cases, return to their roots. Remember how they got to where they are. Anytime a Cup Series star is involved in a crash outside of the NASCAR world, fans are going to take note. Some will maybe criticize, others will say, hey, he's doing what he does best. I hope more team owners are willing to sit up on the fence with me and strike a healthy balance. But enough of that. Let's move on. Drew Blickensderfer, who was Eric Almirola's crew chief the past 2 seasons, he'll now work with Noah Gregson in 2024. He was on SiriusXM NASCAR radio yesterday and explained how internally at Stewart-Haas Racing they have shifted expectations after struggling the past couple of seasons.
We didn't have race cars last year that Kevin Harvick could win in. And that, as a company, we need to fix, right?
I appreciate the honesty here from Drew Blickensderfer. I mean, he's not getting into too many specifics. He's not, throwing anyone under the bus, obviously, but he at least acknowledges that Stewart-Haas Racing has problems. They need to fix those problems. And the problems, by and large, start with the cars themselves. Whatever research or data they've collected has not translated to better on-track performance. So, I appreciate a leader at Stewart-Haas Racing acknowledging that, especially now that they can't lean on Kevin Harvick anymore. The past few years, Kevin Harvick was sort of propping up Stewart-Haas Racing's corpse. Hey, look, Kevin Harvick's doing pretty good. I guess Stewart-Haas is okay. Meanwhile, the rest of the team is just down here gasping for air. Stewart-Haas has 4, I believe, solid young drivers in their stable next year. Even the older drivers like a Josh Berry don't have a ton of NASCAR Cup Series experience. He's got a lot of racing experience, but not so much at the top level of stock car racing. So now the team cannot lean on driver experience the way they have for pretty much their entire existence. Now it's on the engineers, it's on the crew chiefs, it's on the shop to produce better race cars to give their young drivers every chance they can to succeed. One detail I read from Drew Blickensderfer's appearance is he mentioned that Stewart-Haas was actually late getting the new Mustang Dark Horse. Like RFK and Penske received parts first because they went to that Phoenix test earlier this month. Stewart-Haas Racing is just now getting the parts and pieces to assemble their fleet in time for the Clash and then the Daytona 500. So already starting off 2024, I guess, at a slight disadvantage compared to their Ford team teammates. I just thought that quote from Drew Blickensderfer was interesting. Stewart-Haas Racing continues to be just a conundrum. What happened to cause their performance to fall off such a steep cliff? Is it as simple as team leadership? Greg Zipadelli was a great crew chief, won a couple of championships with Tony Stewart, but I know he's been in some sort of competition role at Stewart-Haas since like 2012. I think they've changed his title a couple of times, but he's doing roughly the same job. He's Tony's guy, and he's earned the benefit of the doubt. But I go back to Robbie Reiser was on the Dale Jr. Download earlier this season, and being a Matt Kenseth fan, Robbie Reiser for about a decade there was a fantastic crew chief. And when he first stepped into sort of the competition side at Roush, I'm sure he was great. But perhaps he stayed in that role a bit too long. The sport changed, the culture changed, and maybe he didn't keep up. I look at new teams like Trackhouse, or actually to use Roush as an example, bringing Brad Keselowski in, fresh blood, fresh ideas, a new culture, and they both have performed great the past couple of seasons. Stewart-Haas Racing is faltering, and I just speculate if that's because they're still trying to do things the way they always did, and they haven't fully wrapped their arms around this new era of NASCAR racing, the spec car, working leaner and meaner. This is just me speculating because, again, we don't truly know what's going on behind the scenes at Stewart-Haas. What has caused this sudden drop in performance the past couple of seasons? Anyway, I thought that comment from Drew Blickensderfer was interesting. Wanted to share it and react to it here with you guys. But then Ty Dillon was on SiriusXM radio as well, talking all about his new deal. He'll drive full-time in the number 25 Rackley War truck in 2024. Ty didn't rule out the possibility of making some part-time Cup starts with Richard Childress Racing, so that could be something interesting to watch. It would be a great opportunity for him. But the focus is trucks. And it's pretty clear to me, listening to Ty Dillon, that he views this opportunity as an audition for maybe a seat at one of the higher levels of NASCAR racing. On SiriusXM yesterday, Dillon said, quote, "The difference between the Truck Series and Xfinity Series up to the Cup Series has changed over the past couple of years. There isn't a huge difference between the Truck Series and Xfinity, in my opinion, as far as competition level and getting in and out of the Cup car. Recently, there's been a successful model of Truck Series drivers going back to the Cup Series in the last couple of years." I mentioned this yesterday. Ty Dillon is only 31 years old. His NASCAR career is far from over. That being said, I'm not sure he's capable of pulling off what John Hunter Nemechek just pulled off. There is a difference between John Hunter Nemechek dropping back to trucks and being with KBM in the Toyota Racing Development System versus Ty Dillon dropping down to Rackley War, who by my knowledge is an independent team. There is a pretty big difference there, but Ty Dillon sees what we all see. Zane Smith going straight from trucks to Cup this coming season. Carson Hocevar, trucks to Cup. My entire lifetime, it's been Cup, Xfinity, trucks, ARCA. That's the pipeline. You start at ARCA, work your way up the ladder. But now, has trucks sort of caught the Xfinity Series in some ways? I push back against that idea at least a bit. I think the only thing the Truck Series has going for it right now is that the vehicle itself handles closer to the next-gen car than the Xfinity car does, and that is important. But as my buddy Brennan Poole has said, and he's driven the Truck Xfinity and next-gen Cup car, the Xfinity Series still offers several learning opportunities that Trucks simply doesn't. This was from an episode of Power Hour earlier this month.
I do think these young guys moving straight from trucks into Cup is man, the races are so much longer, totally different style, totally different mentality. I don't know if it's the best move to be moving these truck guys directly into Cups. Yeah, I get the cars kind of drive closer. The Xfinity car doesn't drive anything like it, but the Xfinity race is still 300 miles.
Yeah,
it's way longer. Or some of them are even longer than that, 350, whatever. And it's just the Xfinity field race is entirely different than the trucks. I think it's knowledge needed. But we'll see what happens with those guys.
Obviously, Brennan races full-time in the Xfinity Series, isn't going to devalue the series he primarily competes in, but I think he raises some good points there. It will be very interesting to see how Zane Smith, Carson Hocevar adapt to the Cup Series this year, but for Ty Dillon, can he pull a John Hunter Nemechek and make his way into a more competitive Cup opportunity in the next few years? I'm skeptical, but his logic is sound. A lot of what you learn in the Truck Series can make you a better Cup Series driver. But share your thoughts down in the comment section below. What do you make of Ty Dillon's comments? What about what Drew Blickensderfer had to say about Stewart-Haas? Do you think they'll get their cars any better in 2024, or will we see more of the same? Let me know down in the comment section below. While you're down there, leave a like on this video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new to the channel and you love all things NASCAR, and as always, a huge shout out to my very generous Patreon supporters. You may have noticed this slick Out of the Groove hoodie I'm wearing. You can head to thedailydownforce.com/shop, that top link down in the description below. Check one out for yourself. I will see you all again soon. Again, have a wonderful New Year's Eve, a happy New Year. I'll catch you in 2024.